My name is Audrey Morris, and I will be interviewed today by my mom, Hannah. Okay, here we go.
So Audrey, what did you learn about Congress, the legislative branch, and Article 1? And can you please identify 3 specific things that you learned about Congress?
When reading the Constitution, there were several different branches of government that I learned about throughout. However, the first branch I learned about was the legislative branch, also known as Congress, in Article 1. It talked about the several different things about Congress throughout that I didn't know about before. The first thing that caught my attention in Article 1, Sections 1, 2, and 3 were the people that made up Congress, also known as the Senate and the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is made up of different members from different states that are chosen every second year by the people of those certain states. I learned the requirements for each of the 2 groups, and the first one I came across was the House of Representatives. The requirements you have to meet in order to qualify for being a representative are the following. You must be at least 25 years old, must have been a citizen of the United States for the past 7 years, and be a part of / live in the state they chose to represent by election time. Then I learned about the Senate, which is made up of 2 senators from each state, and then chosen by legislature to be elected for at least 6 years. And the senators are allowed to vote. I then found out the requirements each senator had to meet in order to be a part of the Senate, such as the following. Must be at least 30 years old, must have been a citizen of the United States for the past 9 years, and must be a member of the state for which they chose to be a part of. The next topic I came across when reading the Constitution in Article 1, Section 7 would have to be about bills that raise money, also known as taxes, and they're passed or even became a law. When bills that are supposed to raise money first start out, they must begin in the House of Representatives, then are passed on to the Senate to agree with it, just like any other bill. When the bill seems to pass through the House and the Senate, it is then passed along to the President for him to sign it to make it a law. However, the President must agree with the bill, but if he doesn't sign or approve it within the 10 days of when it was sent, then he must write down why and sends the letter and the bill back to the Senate / House of Representatives to where it first originated. When Congress then gets the bill back from the President, they write it all down in a journal they have, and they start all over again to talk about the bill and send it back. The senators / House must write down their votes in their journal, and if 2/3 of the representatives / senators vote for the same bill, it becomes a law. Also, if the President is sent the bill and doesn't sign the bill or sends it back within 10 days, it then becomes a law. This section of the article is mostly about bills and vetoes, and when reading this section of the article, it helped me clear this process up for me a little more. Finally, the last topic that caught my attention, which is found in Article 1, Section 9, was about the powers of Congress and what they don't have powers over. There are a laundry list of powers Congress does have. However, there are a laundry list of powers Congress doesn't have, such as the rights of people that are in jail can only be taken away if they're invaded by a foreign power. Congress cannot make a law to get someone to be guilty of crime. Congress cannot take the things that are sold from state to state. Congress can't choose a certain port they want to use. Also, they can't tax ships for using a different state's port. And no person of Congress can give any of the states some kind of nobility, such as king, queen, or etc. There are many other things that Congress can't do that is talked about throughout the article. However, I just talked about the ones that interested me.
So what did you learn about the president or the executive branch in Article 2? Can you please identify 3 specific things you learned about the president?
When reading through the Constitution, I first read about the legislative branch, but the next branch I learned about that caught my attention was the executive branch, also known as the president. The first topic I came across that really caught my eye, found in Article 2, Section 1, was about the qualifications of the president and how we choose the president. The executive branch is made up of the President of the United States, who will be elected to office for a term of 4 years, along with the Vice President as well. Someone can only be president if they meet the following qualifications. The president must be born in the United States as a citizen, must be at least 35 years old, and must have been a member of the United States for at least 14 years. When voting for the president, there are a lot of electors that must equal the number of representatives / senators of that state. And the electors meet in their state and vote for 2 people of their liking. Then the electors will then make a list of people possible to vote for, then count the number of votes each person received. They They will then send some of those votes to the President of the Senate, and then all the votes will be counted by the representatives and senators. Whoever has the most votes will be the next President of the United States. However, if there is ever a tie or more people have the same number of electors, the representatives will usually vote right then. But if it's still close, then the representatives will choose a president from who has the most votes from electors among the 5 people. However, if they have to do it this way, they will then do another state's vote, and each state will only have 1 vote, and 2/3 of the representatives must be president. Then, whoever has the second most electors' votes will be the vice president, or it can be decided by the senators. There are so many important steps when electing our next president, and this article really helped clear up any confusion I had about it before. The next topic that I found interesting was found in Article 2, Section 2. I learned about the different powers the president can have. I learned that the president can be the commander-in-chief of the United States Army and Navy when he's called in to actually serve for the United States. Also, he can have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for situations against the U.S. The president has many other powers, but they have to have the advice and the consent of the Senate, such as making treaties, appoint ambassadors, appoint other ministers, appoint judges of the Supreme Court, and other officers of the U.S. Lastly, the president has powers to fill any empty spots in the Senate and grant commissions which will expire in the end. The president has other powers as well, but these are just a few named in the Constitution. Finally, the last topic that I showed great interest in is found in Article 2, Section 4, which talked about impeachment. Impeachment is the removal of someone from office if they're seen unfit for being in office, and many people can be impeached, such as the president, the vice president, and many other officials who seem to be unfit. Some ways the president or others can be impeached is if they seem to be betraying the country, offering people money to do something dishonest to our country, or other really bad crimes. Impeachment is something that is taken very seriously when talking about a president, because if you think about it, we relied enough among this person to give them the future of our country. So if they're caught betraying us or trying to hurt us in any way, we won't be easy to believe that another president won't do the same to us as well.
So what surprised you most after reading the entire document? Can you identify 2 specific things that most surprised you about the Constitution?
When I was first asked to read the entire Constitution, I was very overwhelmed at first. However, after sitting down and taking it all in, it was very interesting to learn, and I was excited to learn more about our country that I didn't know as well before. There were many things that caught my attention and caught me by surprise when reading the Constitution. However, there were 2 topics in particular that caught my eye. The first topic that caught my eye, found in Article 5, addressed that there can be additions/changes made to the Constitution over time. I find that quite interesting because this document holds so much power over our country and its stability, and the fact that we're allowed to make changes to that is amazing. In this article, I got to learn about how the process occurs with the help of Congress and how we have the power to make our country better by bettering our Constitution, so it fits the guidelines as our country changes over time. In order for an amendment to occur, we first need 2/3 of each house of Congress to bring the amendment to light. Then, after the amendment is proposed, at least 3/4 of the states must approve it. There have been several amendments added to the Constitution ever since, and it is just so neat to know that we as a country are taking part in history and we don't even know it yet. The next topic that really caught my eye, found in Article 6, which addresses that the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the United States. As I stated before, it is amazing to think that a document can hold so much power over so many people. But if you think about it, if we didn't have some kind of order or guidelines, our country would be running crazy. I think it is so neat that we have something so strong to keep our land stable, and all that we know of it or live in the all of us that know of it or live in the United States must honor it no matter what. Also, in the last clause of Article 6, it talks about how many people that are part of the government must solemnly swear to bind and support themselves to the Constitution. Also, no type of religion can play a part in the decisions made when involving the government, which I feel is very smart considering all the different types of religions and their beliefs. Therefore, no one can use their religion or their beliefs in an argument or in government, period, to make a point. The people of America have followed this Constitution for years and years, and it has never fallen short because it has always been a great help in running our country. We have to be willing to follow it to a T because it is the very backbone to our country, and we would be in chaos without it. Thank you.